Maryland is ready to absolutely dominate Villanova.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day, and also publisher now on InsideBlackandGold.net. So make sure you guys go check out Inside Black and Gold for all your Maryland Terps information. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. I think that Maryland is ready to absolutely dominate and play their best game of the season against the Villanova Wildcats. So I'm moving a little bit faster this week because tomorrow is supposed to I have an interview with Donnell Brown that's going to be coming out tomorrow before the game on Saturday. I'm going to be trying to be doing these weekly interviews before the game now. And so we have an interview with Donnell Brown set up for tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be more about his thoughts about the game and the team's thoughts about the game. And for today, we're going to get more into the predictions and what I think is going to happen and those different things that usually would happen on a Thursday. But since we have Donnell Brown coming in, talking about himself and what he wants to do and all those different things, then I wanted to do a different type of episode today. But I want to say this. I think that Maryland is ready to play its best game of the season against Villanova. I think for a couple of different reasons why that the Terps are ready to play their best game. When I've looked at the trajectory of the season and how it's gone and where we've been bad, where we've been good, I think it's all ready to come together and put down an absolute beatdown Saturday at noon against the Villanova Wildcats. When I look at the Terps, when I think about what we've done this year, when you start off a really strong game against UConn where most things are clicking, but still there was a couple things that you probably wanted to get better, but you absolutely dominate UConn 50-7. And then you go to Michigan State, you play well in parts of the game, like Billy Edwards looked good. The offense looked solid for a lot of the game, but the defense got absolutely torched by Aiden Childs, and the secondary looked awful, and we couldn't really run the ball, but Tai Felton was absolutely going off at receiver, who we'll talk about later. Dylan Wade was getting involved. Caden Prather had 5 catches, but we couldn't run the ball for anything. And then we look to the Virginia game, and we say we got back in. Billy Edwards looked good again. Nolan Ray and Colby McDonald got going in the run game a little bit. Tai Felton in the receiving game looked good, and the defense looked a lot better in the second half, and the secondary looked a lot better in the second half. So I think that we haven't seen the full potential of the Maryland Terrapins yet. We've seen spots where we've been good. We've seen players play well. We've seen a kind of an inconsistent type of team where we haven't seen a full 4-quarter game from top to bottom, where you don't usually get that in football. You don't usually, like, everyone's like, we got to put together a complete game. Like, coaches will often say that. But how rare is that for you to actually play to your absolute full potential as a football player or in any sport as general, just to play 4 quarters or whatever, 3 periods, 2 halves in college basketball, whatever sport it may be. Putting together a full, complete game is not easy. But I think the Terps are ready to do it Saturday against Villanova. I think that it's time, and I think that they figured out a lot of stuff from the start of the season that will allow them to be able to play a complete game against the Villanova Wildcats. When I look at it, when I go through each part of the team, I say, okay, quarterback, Billy Edwards hasn't had a bad game yet. He's looked good every single game. And I don't see that not continuing against Villanova. I just don't. I think what he can do with his legs, his athleticism, what I've seen with Tai Felton and him throwing the ball to Caden and Tai and some of those guys has looked really good, and I can't see it not being like that against Villanova. I don't think Villanova is a team that can slow that down. When I think about the running game, it's been bad a lot of the year. had a conversation about Roman Hemby last episode about how his job's in danger. I think that will light a fire under him a little bit, knowing that Nolan Ray got the same amount of carries as him and Colby McDonald's outproducing him as well. And I think that's going to get the run game going. But I also think we should just be able to run the ball against Villanova. Like I said, the receivers are going to get going. I think our offensive line should be able to be bigger, more dominant, stronger, more athletic than Villanova. And I think defensively, the big question is the secondary. And I think after what I saw on the secondary on Saturday against Virginia in the second half, and we were able to force some turnovers. We were able to do some really high-level things. And now I think they're ready to play a complete game against Villanova. I didn't see a complete game on Saturday against Virginia. The Virginia quarterback kind of dotted us up in the first half, to be completely honest. Anthony Colandrea, he's a talented kid, but he kind of dotted us up. But I think that in the second half, we made a lot of adjustments, and now we get to watch the film. We get to see where we got better in the second half, how we did things differently. We still have that Michigan State game where we got absolutely killed in the secondary on the top of our mind. And I think those guys in the secondary are going to be ready to play their best game of the year against Villanova. I think that, for one, Villanova's just not as talented as us. So no matter how you shake it, it makes it a lot easier for those guys that have a really high-end game against Villanova, because Villanova is just not going to be as good. But I also think that those guys are going to be locked in after what has happened in the first half against Virginia and the entire game against Michigan State. And I think those guys are just getting better. I think those guys have figured it out. It's a young, inexperienced group, and so it was always going to take some time, just because there's not a bunch of guys there that have played a lot. It's not a bunch of guys that have a ton of experience, have a ton of Big Ten type of experience. And so I think Jalen Husky is going to be ready to go. I know our safeties, Dante and Glendon, they've been good all year. It's not as much of them as much as the cornerback room, but I think that they're going to be ready for a complete game. And I think defensive line, I think is going to get after it. I think we're going to play a really good game against Villanova, like a complete game, like a rare complete game. Like I said, in sports, a lot of coaches are going to say, a lot of players are going to say, we got to put a complete game together. But when does that really happen? Like, when do you see a team put 4 quarters, every drive looks really good? Like, that's not what sports is about. It's never perfect. But I do think that this game against Villanova, we're going to be looking at a game that is nearly perfect for the Terps. Not perfect, but nearly perfect. And then I think we're going to have a lot of confidence going into the next week against Indiana, which is a huge matchup. Indiana's played really well this year, and so we're going to need to have a lot of confidence. We're going to need to have things going. We don't want to show a lot of weakness on film that Indiana's going to be able to take advantage of. We want to show a complete game, complete film, make it hard for Indiana to prepare for us, maybe show them a couple of things that we won't even use in the game against Indiana. But Indiana's been playing really well. Their quarterback's been playing really well. So they're kind of one of the surprise teams in the Big Ten right now, actually. And so Indiana is definitely one of the more interesting teams. But I think this week is about Villanova. But Indiana has done some pretty big things. They just absolutely crushed UCLA. Who doesn't have the best team this year at all. But I do think that we're ready to play a complete game against Villanova. Maybe the last complete game of the season. This is the last game where it's like an automatic win, I would say. We could play bad against Villanova, still could win the game. We could play excellent, we would win the game. Like, there's a lot of different paths to victory to win the game, where other teams like an Indiana, like a USC that's coming up, even like a Northwestern that's coming up in a couple of weeks, you can't just play anyway. But I do think the Terps are ready to absolutely dominate. I have trust in Billy Edwards and what he's done. He's looked really good, and I don't see that. If it ever regresses, this isn't the time it's going to happen. I don't think Villanova has enough talent, but I do see us continuing to play at a really high level against Villanova, and I see us continuing kind of that high that we're running on after that Virginia game. So I believe in us, and I think that we have a pretty bright game coming up against Villanova. Tai Felton is the key to this offense, and he is the best in the Big Ten. I feel like I'm talking about him weekly, but we have to talk about that after this ad from FanDuel and the Gametime app. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Trust me, you guys will want to get on this. NFL Sunday Ticket can be expensive. I have it right now, and it's absolutely awesome to have. Being able to watch every NFL game out of market. I know we have some big NFL fans. If one game's not good enough for you, you can watch 4 games at a time on NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV. So make sure you guys get that. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game with just a $5 bet on FanDuel. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime you want. So just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sports book. Have you ever wanted to go to a game at the last minute like a Maryland Terrapins game, but finding tickets is hard? I've been there before. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Gametime has deals on tickets right at the start of an event and even an hour after it starts. It's a place to find last-minute seats and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Tai Felton is really the key to the Maryland's offense, and I do think he's the best receiver right now in the Big Ten. I keep seeing it. I keep seeing the stats. They released something on, it was like a combined post, I want to say with NBC Sports, about the Big Ten leading in receiving yards and all those different things. And even when you look in the country, he's like top 5 in all those types of stats. But what Tai Felton is doing as a receiver isn't normal, and I haven't seen this happen for like anybody in a really long time. He's absolutely dominating the Big Ten and all the statistics. Tai Felton is absolutely killing everybody. He looks different right now. Like, I don't see why. Call me crazy. I don't see why he wouldn't be a first or second round pick right now in the NFL draft. If he continues to play like this, I wouldn't understand why he wouldn't be. He's as good as anybody in this conference right now. The way he's running routes, the way he's separating, the way he's getting open, I don't know why he wouldn't be a first, second round guy with how explosive he's been. I want to remember, if you guys remember, let me know down in the comments, that the commentators on the game, they gave him a comparison to an NFL receiver, and I thought it was really accurate, but I don't remember what it was. If you guys remember, please let me know, because it made a lot of sense. But this guy's killing it. And I don't just want to give him props and say, yeah, he's still leading the Big Ten and whatever, because he is doing that, and it's by a wide margin, by over 100 yards. The next guy, he right now is 447 yards. He's almost halfway to 1,000 in only 3 games. The next best receiver right now in the Big Ten in terms of the numbers, maybe not in terms of the talent, in terms of the numbers, is Giles Jackson at Washington, who has 326 yards compared to Ty's 447. And so then it's like 235 by Pat Bryant in Illinois. So you can see there's a huge drop-off. Like, it's not really close right now. Tai Felton's absolutely dominating everybody in terms of the receiving. And then in the touchdowns as well, he's tied for first in touchdowns with one other guy, Pat Bryant from Illinois. So he's tied for first in touchdowns, and he's by far first in yards. He's up there in yards per catch as well. He's not number 1, but he's up there in the tops. And he has the second longest catch of the year so far in the Big Ten. And so I can harp on the numbers and whatever. I kind of did that last week. My thing is, I kind of want to talk about the receiver core in general, because I think what I thought the identity of this team was going to be has switched a little bit. I don't think this year is going to be that much different now than what it was last year, to be completely honest. I don't think it's going to be that much different. We still lead the Big Ten in passing attempts, which is weird to me. I thought it'd be a different type of scheme. I thought it'd be a different types of formula to win games, but it doesn't really look that different because I thought Billy Edwards coming in, he's more of a running quarterback. We haven't seen him throw the football. But now I'm like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to throw the football. I guess that's our identity. And a big part of it, I think the reason for me to believe that we're going to be able to continue to do that at a high level is because Tai Felton has looked really good, but Billy Edwards, more importantly, Billy Edwards has looked really good. And he's been able to really throw the ball around to these different guys. And so I think, to me, that's the biggest reason why I think that we don't feel weird. We don't feel like we have to make a switch in identity because Billy Edwards is playing at such a high level, which is a beautiful thing to see, which is an awesome thing to see with how much work he's put in. But to me, I think that we kind of know what we're going to get from Tai. I'd be honest, I didn't think he'd be this good. I thought he'd be good this year. I thought he'd lead our team in receiving yards. I think I said that before the year. I just think he's a really talented guy that hasn't put it all together quite yet, but this year completely has. Last year, he started to do it a lot. He had like 700 yards last year, which is a really good year for a college receiver, but he still was like, there was still some potential that could be on seeing that this year. And he's already on track to have like, almost probably like 1,200 yards or something like that, maybe over that, 12 touchdowns. So he's on track to have an amazing season, probably go down as one of the better receiver seasons we've seen because through the first 3 weeks, he's already has the most receiving yards through the first 3 weeks. But I do think that if we're going to throw the ball and continue to be at a high level, other guys are going to have to step up. Caden Prather was good last week, but even outside of Caden Prather, we know what Caden Prather as a number 2. He's a good player. He's a really good player. But guys like Octavian Smith, Dylan Wade in the receiving room, Preston Howard, Shalik Knotts, Ryan Manning's been getting some run. Those guys are going to have to be better because right now it's been the Tai Felton show, and I promise you, when we get to some of these better teams, whether it's Penn State later on the season or an Oregon or USC or some of these other defenses, even maybe not just straight better defenses than we played, but just better schemes, better coaching, but better talent still. Like Penn State has a lot of talent on the defense. They're not going to just let you throw 2 screens to Tai Felton for 2 10-yard gains. Tai Felton over the top. There's Caden Prather for a 6-yard gain. There's Octavian Smith. There's Tai Felton again for a 15-yard slant. Like, they're not going to allow that. They're going to start doubling Tai Felton. They're going to start taking him away. They're going to put their number 1 corner on him. They're going to do all these different things to make sure that guy doesn't beat you. They're not going to let that guy go, and it's going to be on some of your other guys to start to play at a high level. And so I think that Tai Felton's going to be really good for us, obviously. But as we continue going, he might start working as a decoy to get some of these other guys open. He might get doubled. The coverage might get focused on him, and it might allow Caden to run free, Octavian Smith to run free, Dylan Wade to get more open, which I think is a really cool thing to see. And sometimes people don't realize the impact of a receiver until or when he doesn't get as much attention, or he's not getting as much of the ball thrown to him. But people don't realize that he's just allowing everyone else to get open and stuff. So I think you could start to see that with Felton, and that's why I think, right now he's the best receiver in the Big Ten. Like, the numbers say that, how he's looked has said that, and I know there's some other really good players, but he's been one of the best, I think. But I think that his numbers aren't going to be stable forever. Eventually, their teams are going to start to lock in on him, which is perfectly fine. It's just the other guys have to step up. And if they don't, that's when we're in trouble. When we're too reliant on Felton to get open down the field, to create our chunk plays. But when they take him away, if the other guys step up, we're going to be golden. It's going to be really hard to guard us as an offense if this is the identity that we're going to take. But ironically, I'm going to talk about running the football on Saturday. I think it's something I'm praying that we're able to do. I'll talk about that after this ad from Roy. Hey, Locked On Terps fans, have you heard about Roy? It stands for Return on You, and it's a new platform that lets the fans get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. By supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, and keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal, as you know. NIL has changed the game for athletes, and Roy changes the NIL game for fans. Directly support players. Roy allows fans to directly back their favorite college athletes. And with Roy, fans can play a key role in shaping the future of their favorite teams while athletes maximize their name, image, and likeness potential. So download Roy for iOS or Android and enter referral code LOCKEDON, and you'll automatically be entered into sweepstakes to win 5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Get the Roy app for iOS or Android and start making an impact on your favorite team. Use the referral code LOCKEDON for an opportunity to win 5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for more details. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy. So I think this Saturday, if we can't run the ball, sound the alarms. And like I just talked about in the last segment, we're going to be a passing team, it looks like. I don't know if I'm in love with it, but so far Billy Edwards has proven that he can do it, and that he can do it at a pretty high level so far. But gosh, Maryland's run game has been terrible so far this year. And I haven't even looked at the numbers. I'm looking at the numbers right now, and we stink running the football right now. We don't have a top 19 rusher in the Big Ten currently. We don't have anybody in the top 19. And I know we've added some teams to the Big Ten, but not having a top 19 rusher in terms of yards is kind of not where we want to be right now. And so I think if you can't run against Villanova, gosh, just sound the alarms and just know that we're not going to be able to run the football this year. I really think it's that simple. But I think that if we're not able to do that, I think that this Saturday could be a huge indicator on if we can run the football this year. Because I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm looking at Maryland football's rushing so far and just the players in terms of yards and all those different things. We don't have a top 19 rusher. Roman Hemby comes in at 20th in the Big Ten, which isn't good enough, with 134 yards. And Nolan Ray right behind him, 21st, with 133 yards. The thing is, Nolan Ray has 8 less carries, and that's why I was saying Roman Hemby's job is on the line. But I think it's the thing that's weird to me is I keep wanting to believe that it should be easier to run the football because of Billy Edwards and what he can do in the run game. But I think Billy hasn't ran the ball maybe as much as I originally thought he would going into the year. I mean, he's definitely had a lot of quarterback design runs, but I thought it would be more. But still, I think I did say this, though. Against Villanova on Saturday, I do think we're able to run the football. I just think that it's not something that has to be consistent. With our offensive line, let's be real, it probably will never be consistent. A lot of people are saying it's a lot of scheme problems and those different things. And honestly, I do kind of buy into that, that we're never going to be an elite rushing team. Like, that's not really what I want. But I think that in some games, I want it to be there. In some games, I want it to be there. Like, when we play Indiana next week, I would like to be able to have some game. I don't want it to be like Michigan State. When we play USC on October 19th, I like to have some type of run game. When we play Oregon on November 9th, will we have a run game? Probably not. Penn State on November 30th? Probably not. But when we play Rutgers November 16th, I would like to have some type of run game. Because honestly, if you continue to put all the pressure on Billy Edwards, yeah, he's a good player. And yeah, he's shown that he's really good. But eventually, just like Talia, it makes it a lot harder to play mistake-free football. It can be a longer down distance. It's really hard. And so I think this weekend is the key to get that run game going, get some holes going by the offensive line. Offensive line hasn't been great, and run game at all hasn't been good. I wouldn't say it's been okay. It's been pretty at most. And it's still I'm still trying to figure it out. I probably should watch it back because it's like, is it our run game's not good or Roman Hemby's not playing well? Because those are two different things. And Nolan and Colby have been pretty productive. So a part of me wants to say Roman Hemby's just not finding it, not getting it done right now. But also I want to say against Michigan State, we didn't have any run game at all. Nolan, Roman Hemby, Colby McDonald got it a little bit, but he only got 3 carries. So I'm still trying to figure it out, but I do think it's something that maybe the number one thing I'm watching at on Saturday. I mean, I feel like the number one thing is always the quarterback and how Billy Edwards plays, so probably number 2 realistically, but I think the number one kind of storyline is, can Maryland run the ball against Villanova? Yeah, we're probably going to win. Yeah, our defense will probably get stops. Yeah, Billy DeTai will probably look good again, and DePrather and those receivers. But can we run the ball? That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.